She claimed she was sick in the middle of the night just to test my love. I drove 2 hours only to find out it was all a joke, and what happened next changed everything. Emma and I had been together for almost a year when I realized she had a strange definition of love. She was charming, quick-witted, and sharp, the kind of woman who could make an ordinary dinner feel cinematic. But she had a habit she thought was harmless. She liked to test people. At first, it was small things, saying she forgot my birthday dinner reservation just to see if I'd get upset, pretending to ignore my messages for hours to see how patient I was. I told myself it was just insecurity. Maybe she'd been hurt before. I thought patience would fix it. Spoiler, it didn't. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Wednesday evening. I had just finished a brutal 12-hour day at work. Endless meetings, a traffic-clogged commute, the kind of exhaustion that makes you forget what day it is. At 7:04 p.m., my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Emma and a text that made my stomach drop. "Babe, I'm really sick. I think it's food poisoning. Please come." Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and drove. She lived 2 hours away, across the city, and traffic was hell. I didn't even stop for food. The entire drive, I kept imagining her lying on the bathroom floor, pale and shaking. I called 3 times, no answer. By the time I reached her apartment, it was almost 9:30 p.m. I ran upstairs, heart pounding, and rang the doorbell. When the door opened, Emma stood there, in silk pajamas, hair tied up neatly, holding a bowl of popcorn. "Oh, you actually came," she said, smirking. I just stared at her, confused. "You said you were sick." She laughed lightly. "Relax, I wasn't really sick. It was just a little test. I wanted to see how much you care." The air left my lungs. It took me a few seconds to process what I'd just heard. I'd spent 2 hours in gridlock, terrified something had happened to her. And to her, it was entertainment. I didn't yell. I didn't slam the door. I just looked her dead in the eye and said quietly, "Then here's my result." And I turned around and left. I heard her laugh behind me as the door closed. She thought I was being dramatic. "Oh, come on. Don't be such a baby," she called after me. It was cute. Admit it. But I didn't stop. I walked down the hall, down the stairs, and out into the cold air. By the time I reached my car, my hands were trembling, not from anger, but from clarity. That was the exact moment I knew the relationship was dead. Not because of the lie, but because of what it revealed. She didn't want love. She wanted proof. Over and over again. The drive back home was quiet. No music, no thoughts, just headlights sliding over asphalt. I didn't even cry. When I got home, I turned my phone off, dropped it on the nightstand, and slept for the first time in weeks without anxiety. The next morning, there were 12 unread messages. "It was just a joke. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. It wasn't that deep. If you can't handle a little fun, maybe we're not meant to be." That last one stuck with me, because she was right. Maybe we weren't meant to be. But what she didn't know was that, while I was driving home, something else had already started unraveling. Something that would expose the whole web of her tests. Her best friend, Clara, texted me that same night. "Did she really tell you she was sick?" And that message would change everything. When Clara texted me that night, "Did she really tell you she was sick?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared at my screen for a few minutes, debating whether to open that door. Finally, I typed back. "Yeah." Said she had food poisoning. "What?" Clara replied almost instantly. "Because she wasn't sick. She told me she was going to test your loyalty. She's been bragging about it for days." I felt my chest tighten, not from surprise, but from a strange calm that replaced it. Clara wasn't trying to stir drama. She sounded tired. "She's done this before," she continued. "With her last boyfriend, too. Fake fainting once. Made him drive from another city. She thinks tests prove how much someone loves her." It was disturbing, not just because of what she'd done, but because she'd built a pattern out of it. Clara apologized, even though it wasn't her fault. "I told her it was cruel," she said. "But she and her friends, they think it's funny." I didn't understand what she meant by friends until she sent me a few screenshots. It was a group chat, 3 girls, including Emma. The title? The Loyalty League. Messages flooded the screen. "I'm gonna fake a migraine and see if he cancels his meeting smirking face." "Girl, that's nothing." I told mine I lost my job just to see if he'd offer money. I told mine I was sick tonight. "He's already driving here." Such a simp. That last one had a photo of me, from a selfie I'd sent earlier that day. My stomach turned. I'd never felt humiliation like that before. I wasn't angry. I was numb. There's something uniquely painful about realizing you've been the punchline in someone else's joke. Clara told me she'd confronted Emma about it after I left, and Emma just laughed. He'll forgive me. They always do. That was enough for me. The next day, I made my decision. No confrontation. No fight. Just distance. I blocked her on every platform. Instagram, WhatsApp, even Venmo. I deleted every photo, every message, every trace. Then I spent the weekend in silence. No closure, no calls, just peace. By Monday morning, Emma's tone had shifted from smug to desperate. I woke up to an email titled, "You're overreacting." It was stupid, okay? I just wanted to feel important. Everyone tests their partners in some way. You're acting like I killed someone. Don't throw us away over something so small. I didn't reply, but the irony was too rich to ignore because Emma worked at a relationship coaching startup that sold online courses about emotional transparency and trust. I didn't intend to destroy her reputation, but I did believe in truth. So I forwarded the screenshots from Clara, including Emma's comments, the Loyalty League, messages, and the selfie she used, to the company's public email. I added one line at the end. I thought you should know how one of your coaches defines trust. Then I closed my laptop, made coffee, and went on with my day. By Thursday, Clara texted again. You might want to check her company website. I did. The Meet Our Team section had one fewer face. Emma's profile gone. Apparently, when HR confronted her, she tried to claim the screenshots were fake. But Clara had already turned over the originals. Emma's boss suspended her pending investigation, which, in corporate terms, meant don't come back. Later that night, I got one last message from Emma. You ruined my career over a joke? You're disgusting. I didn't reply because she still didn't understand. The moment she turned love into a test, she'd already failed. But the full fallout was still coming. Because when her coworkers, the same ones she used to brag to, found out why she was fired, they started talking. And word travels fast in that industry. By the weekend, Emma wasn't just unemployed, she was radioactive. And I hadn't said a word to anyone. Update 1. It's been about 3 weeks since the whole thing blew up. I thought by now the dust would have settled, that she'd move on, find someone else to test, and I could finally put the entire mess behind me. But apparently, the universe wasn't done reminding me how messy people can be when pride meets consequence. The first I heard from her again wasn't directly. It was through Clara. She texted me out of nowhere. Heads up, Emma's been calling me nonstop. She's saying you hacked her messages. I just stared at the text and laughed. Not even the bitter kind, just pure disbelief. Emma had apparently gone into full damage control mode. She told mutual friends that I'd fabricated the screenshots, that I'd gone psycho because she'd rejected me, and that I was trying to ruin her career out of revenge. Except there was one problem. Clara was the one who gave me the screenshots. Clara wasn't having it. She'd had enough of Emma's drama and told everyone the truth. She even posted a screenshot of Emma's Loyalty League chat, with names blurred, on her private story with the caption, "Maybe don't build your love life around humiliating people." That didn't go over well for Emma. Apparently, her old coworkers saw it too. Some had been defending her at first, saying I was exaggerating, until they saw that. Then they turned silent. Within a few days, Emma's little social circle, the one she used to brag to, evaporated. 2 of her closest friends unfollowed her. 1 blocked her altogether. Clara said Emma called her crying, saying, "You didn't have to betray me like that." Clara told me, it wasn't betrayal. It was a reality check. I should have felt vindicated, but honestly, I just felt tired. It's strange how revenge doesn't feel like victory when you didn't even plan it. I hadn't tried to expose her. I just stopped protecting her lies. The truth did the rest. A few nights later, around 1 a.m., I got an email from Emma. The subject line read, "Just listen." It was long, 3 paragraphs of self-pity mixed with half-hearted apologies. She said she'd lost her job, most of her friends, and even her lease because she couldn't afford rent anymore. She said she'd learned her lesson, but that I'd gone too far. And then the last line, "I still think we could have fixed it if you just talked to me." I didn't respond. Because that's the problem with people like her. They don't want to fix things, they just want to rewind to the part where you still believe them. After that, I deleted her email and blocked her again. But Clara kept me updated. She said Emma had moved back in with her parents and was trying to rebuild. Clara also told me that Emma's father had found out why she was fired. Apparently, he saw the HR email when she was crying at home. He told her bluntly, "You made your own bed." It was the first time in this whole ordeal I felt something like pity. Because Emma wasn't evil. She was broken in a way that made her break everyone else. Still, I was done. By the end of that month, I'd taken a new job offer in another city, a quiet, coastal town 2 hours north. New apartment, new co-workers, no trace of her anywhere. I even stopped checking social media entirely. But then, about 6 months later, she found another way to reach me. Through a handwritten letter. It arrived without a return address, just my name and a faint perfume that instantly told me who it was from. Inside was one line, written in her looping cursive. "You didn't just walk away, you took my reflection with you." No apology, no accountability, just nostalgia disguised as poetry. I folded it neatly, put it back in the envelope, and dropped it straight into the shredder. That was the last time I ever heard from her. Or at least, I thought it was. Final update. It's been almost a year since that letter arrived. I've moved twice since then, changed jobs, and settled into a life that feels quiet but genuine. No tests, no games, no proof required to feel loved. I don't wake up anxious about someone else's whims. I sleep through the night without imagining what crisis might be waiting on my phone. I occasionally think about Emma, not out of longing, but out of a kind of distant, clinical curiosity. Last I heard through mutual contacts, she had started dating again. I imagine she's still testing, still building her own little loyalty league somewhere. Part of me feels pity, part of me feels relief that I'm no longer in that orbit. Life has a funny way of rewarding clarity and boundaries. The peace I have now didn't come from revenge or exposure. It came from refusing to participate in someone else's games. Sometimes people mistake love for loyalty tests. I've learned the hard way that love isn't measured in hours spent rushing across cities or sacrifices made for illusions. It's measured in respect, honesty, and mutual care, and that's exactly what I finally get to have. Occasionally, I see her name pop up in articles or social media, but it doesn't sting anymore. I've realized something important. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means winning for yourself. And that, quiet, unremarkable, steady, is the happiest ending I've ever had.